The story begins with a 17-year-old high school student who was studying with dedication. However, all of a sudden, something unexpected happened. She went downstairs and jumped into the swimming pool. She started drowning, but fortunately, the people present at the scene rescued her in time. The next morning, she went straight from the hospital to take her exam. Unfortunately, she failed. Her friends informed her about it and also mentioned that the most attractive boy in the class, Jong, had also skipped the exam. She was astonished to hear this because Jong had shared in his video that he was going to meet his girlfriend, who was older than him. Her friends stated that he loved his partner deeply, which is why he had abandoned the exam. Tina was surprised to learn that someone could miss an exam for such a reason. After returning home, she started watching Jag's videos and found herself completely immersed in his world, where he wandered freely without any worries. Meanwhile, Tina's parents arrived home and were furious about her failure in the exam. They reminded her that they had left their old house so she could live closer to school for better education. Tina's father tried to calm the situation, but out of frustration, she blurted out that she had gone through a breakup before the exam. That was the reason she could not focus on her studies. Hearing this, Tina's mother was utterly shocked. In anger, she confiscated her phone. Upon checking the device, she discovered Jag's videos. This made her realize that Tina was influenced by that girl, which ultimately led to her failure. The next day, she went to school and spoke to the principal, who was taken aback after hearing the situation. This was because Tina had never shown poor academic performance before. Initially, the principal assumed she might have been unwell. However, upon learning the truth about the relationship, she immediately walked into the classroom and made Tina and Jong stand in front of everyone. She then addressed the students. "Look, everyone. Here are the lovebirds of our school, who chose romance over their exam." Tina ended up failing, but Jong did not seem to care at all. The entire class burst into laughter upon hearing this, while Jong was completely clueless about what was happening. It was the first time he had paid close attention to Tina, and his astonished reaction made it evident. However, Tina was deeply embarrassed. Later, they were seated separately, but as soon as the class ended, Jong attempted to talk to her. He began following her everywhere, which made everyone believe that they were truly dating. Jong was now trying to win her over, and when school ended, he finally stopped her. Smiling, he said, "Hello, my girlfriend. How are you?" Tina, bewildered, responded, "What girlfriend?" Jong chuckled and said, "That's exactly what I want to know." Tina then explained, "Actually, my friends told me that you didn't even take the exam, so I assumed you had left the school." Friends, if you are watching this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. I mentioned your name just to save myself, but you came back and ruined everything. Jong laughed heartily upon hearing this and teasingly asked, "There were many other boys who failed. Why didn't you mention their names?" "Oh, now I get it. You have a crush on me." Hearing this, Tina's face turned red with anger and embarrassment. She made a face and left without saying a word. After reaching home, she started checking Jag's social media profile. When she saw his bio, she found it utterly ridiculous and immature, which made her cringe even more. Meanwhile, her mother was advising her that there was no value in such nonsense and that she should focus on her studies. The next day, during sports practice, while all the students were running, Jong repeatedly ran beside Tina. She kept trying to distance herself from him, but he kept coming closer. Noticing this, one of their classmates jokingly said, "Come on, just forgive him already." The moment Tina heard this, she stopped, but just then, their teacher saw them and called them to the office. There, the teacher sternly advised Jong, "You need to stop following Tina because she does not want to be around you." Jong, with a slight smile, replied, "I just want to make things right." However, in reality, he was only doing it for fun, to tease Tina. The teacher firmly stated, "This is not the right way. You are bothering a girl, which is not a sign of a respectable person. This is love, which only leads to pain and loneliness. With your behavior, you are not creating love but rather hatred." Hearing these words, Jong suddenly fell silent. His eyes welled up with tears, and seeing this, Tina also felt terrible. Jong apologized to Tina, but after that, he began to distance himself from her and avoided any interaction. Witnessing this, Tina felt even worse. She realized that perhaps her behavior had hurt Jong's feelings. Tina started making continuous efforts to talk to Jong. She followed him everywhere, and eventually, after school, they finally met. Without hesitation, Tina revealed the truth. She confessed that she was completely exhausted by her parents' constant arguments, which made it impossible for her to focus on her studies. Then, when she learned about Jong, she became obsessed with him. Upon hearing this, Jong burst into laughter. Feeling embarrassed, Tina quickly apologized, acknowledging that he had suffered a great deal because of her. In response, Jong shared his own story. He admitted that he had gone to Beijing to meet his girlfriend, leaving everything behind, as she had not responded to any of his messages for a long time. However, when he finally met her, she bluntly told him that he was acting immaturely. She said that at that moment, he should have been in the examination hall, not standing in front of her. Hearing this infuriated him, and out of spite, he deliberately skipped all his exams. Upon hearing this, Tina couldn't help but laugh, which only made Jong feel worse. Truthfully, even Tina found his actions utterly foolish, and in reality, they were exactly that. Taking a deep breath, Jong remarked, "You have never truly loved anyone. The day you do, you will understand that sometimes, saving a relationship requires making extraordinary decisions." Tina couldn't believe that this was the same Jong who always appeared carefree and cheerful on social media. Yet, in real life, he was lonely and sorrowful. That night, at home, Tina's mother kept receiving calls from an unknown number, which deeply unsettled her. Frustrated, she blocked the number and, in her distress, began drinking. Just then, Tina walked into the room, and her mother snapped, "You are still hanging around with that girl, aren't you? Your teacher told me everything." Hearing this, Tina became furious and stormed into her room. The next day, when she arrived at school, she boldly grabbed Jong's hand in front of everyone. Seeing this, her friends teasingly remarked, "Look, his ex is back." However, Tina, irritated, snapped, "I am his current girlfriend." Hearing this, a smile spread across Jong's face. But when the teacher found out about this, she immediately called Tina's mother to the school and informed her about everything, while Tina and Jong listened in silence. Jong quickly realized that Tina was only doing all of this to provoke her mother. Since he himself was an expert in mischief, he cunningly responded, "Wow, this is really exciting." However, his plan backfired when Tina's mother, instead of getting angry, calmly stated, "All right, you can stay with my daughter. I have no objection." Tina was stunned upon hearing this. When she returned home, she immediately asked her mother why she had said that. Her mother, with a bitter expression, replied, "Jong comes from a wealthy family. That's why, despite his terrible grades, his parents are still keeping him in a prestigious school. In the end, after college, you'll need a rich guy anyway to support your expenses." Tina was in utter disbelief. She couldn't comprehend that the woman standing before her was the same mother she had always seen as strong and selfless. One night, Jong came to visit Tina because, by now, they had become good friends. He even made a video with her. When he arrived at her house's gate, he noticed Tina's mother standing with a man. Jong assumed that it was Tina's father, but she immediately denied it and said that he wasn't. Jong went upstairs. From the balcony, both of them stood watching the scene below. Jong noticed that as the man was leaving, he kissed Tina's mother. Surprised, Jong exclaimed, "Your mother loves him." But Tina immediately responded, "No. He is just a good friend. My mom and dad have been together since high school. She would never do something like that." Jong already knew the truth. However, just to keep Tina's heart from breaking, he chose to agree with her. A few days later, a test was conducted in class. This time, Tina secured second place. She was overjoyed. Jong immediately stood up and jokingly declared, "Now, there's no harm in us dating either." Then he asked, "Can you sit with me?" The teacher asked Tina the same question. With a smile, she nodded and sat beside him. The two spent the entire time together. Tina listened to songs through Jong's. Was she beginning to like his small, childish antics after school? Jong took Tina to his house and showed her all his musical instruments. He excitedly told her that his dream was to become an outstanding guitarist. He asked Tina to sing while he played the guitar. However, at that very moment, his father suddenly arrived. He strongly disapproved of Jong's passion for music. Without wasting a second, Jong quickly lied that Tina had come over only to study and nothing more. A few days later, Tina's birthday arrived. Jong took her to a club where he had strong connections. However, due to Tina's young age, the security guard stopped her from entering. Jong stubbornly insisted, "She has turned 18. There are just a few minutes left until midnight." Yet the guard still refused to let her in. Then the guard made another remark. "Didn't come today. So there's no point in you being here." Hearing this, Tina felt deeply hurt. It seemed as though Jong had brought her here only to make his ex-girlfriend jealous. However, Jong immediately clarified, "That's not true. I just wanted to show you what my dream world looks like." As soon as the clock struck 12, they both went inside. But the loud and chaotic music overwhelmed Tina. Meanwhile, Jong smiled and said, "I find peace in the noise. I will become a great DJ and make a name for myself." At that moment, they both found themselves standing very close to each other. But suddenly, Jong stepped back. Lowering his gaze, he softly admitted, "I still haven't moved on from my ex." Hearing this, Tina felt a sharp sting in her heart. Overcome with frustration, she stormed outside. Jong followed her. In anger, Tina snapped, "If you don't love me, then why do you keep chasing after me? Not every traveler reaches their destination." Jong's words also hit Tina. But he smirked and sarcastically responded, "If you feel that way, then why don't you tell everyone that you are really dating me? And yes, why don't you tell the whole world about who your mother is with?" Jong's bitter words shattered Tina from within. Without saying another word, she silently walked away. On her way home, she suddenly saw her father sitting extremely close to an unfamiliar woman. Witnessing this, her eyes welled up with tears. She realized that her mother and father only pretended to be happy in front of her. In reality, their relationship was nothing more than a forced companionship. Her heart grew heavy as she finally understood that her family was merely putting on an act of happiness. In truth, everyone had chosen their own partners, yet they remained together out of necessity. Lost in these painful thoughts, she couldn't hold back her tears. On the other hand, Jong desperately kept trying to call. But she had already blocked him. Knowing this, his heart shatters even more. He sits there, letting his tears flow uncontrollably. If someone were to see him from the outside, they might never guess how broken he is on the inside. As he continues to sit and weep, Tina suddenly arrives. Both of them share their sorrows with each other. Then, out of nowhere, Jong says, "Let's run away somewhere far." Without telling anyone. Without a moment's hesitation, Tina agrees instantly. That very night, they escape together. However, Jong keeps posting updates on his but he avoids revealing their location. By the next morning, their videos go viral on social media. Soon, everyone starts assuming that Jong has kidnapped Tina. Due to the severity of the situation, the school administration calls their parents. They declare that strict action will be taken against them because their actions have tarnished the school's reputation. Meanwhile, their parents also find out where they are. On the other hand, we see Jong and Tina enjoying their time together. In that moment, Tina gathers courage, speaks her heart out, and suddenly kisses Jong. But Jong responds seriously, "I still haven't moved on from my ex-girlfriend." Hearing this, Tina's eyes fill with tears once again. In a sorrowful tone, she says, "I know. But do you realize that we are both in the same boat? The one you love doesn't love you. And the one I love doesn't love me." Tina hasn't even finished speaking when, all of a sudden, her mother arrives. She believes that everything is Jag's fault. Without a second thought, she takes Tina home and forces her to sign a document. The paper contained an accusation. It claimed that Jong had forcefully abducted her just to harass her. Reading this, tears well up in Tina's eyes. With a trembling voice, she asks her mother, "What is this?" Her mother replies in a firm tone, "Jag's parents are extremely wealthy. They can send him abroad anytime. But we don't have that option. Do you even realize what is happening because of you? You are going to be suspended from school. So sign this paper." Hearing this, Tina protests, "But he never forced me. In fact, he loves someone else." Her mother, now furious, says, "You have always lied to me. Have you ever spoken the truth?" At that moment, Tina finally says everything she had always wanted to say but never dared to. She lays out the truth before her mother and says, "I failed deliberately. Because I read your chat with Dad, where you both were discussing the divorce. You had already decided that as soon as I joined college, you would separate. That is why I erased my answers in the exam. So that I could delay it for a year. Just to keep you both together for a little longer. Because I wanted to see you happy." Hearing this, her mother's eyes well up with tears. She embraces her daughter. In that moment, she realizes that she was about to tear her own family apart. The next day, all the students are present at school. But Jong and Tina are not. Because they have been suspended. Now, Tina stays home and studies under her mother's guidance. She works extremely hard. Because she wants to secure admission to a prestigious college. Eventually, she succeeds. A few years later, we learn that Tina's mother now lives with someone. Because she feels truly happy with them. Today, the two of them are heading to a concert. When they arrive, Tina's eyes fall upon a massive poster displaying the name DJ XYZ. She stares at it in astonishment. Because it is none other than Jong himself. Today, she is witnessing his dream come true with her own eyes. A dream that he had once shared with her years ago. The only difference is that today, the dream belongs solely to Jong. He is living it alone. But it does not matter. Tina finds happiness in his success. Seeing the joy on Jag's face brings her immense peace. Sometimes, certain relationships are better left at a beautiful turning point. Because not every love story needs to be complete. Friends, if you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. See you in the next video.